wish you all an abundance of energy, peace, and hearts always filled with love. One of the most important goals of our practice is to create peaceful energy, to live peacefully in every moment of our lives. No matter what dharma or method we practice, the ultimate goal is to attain a peaceful soul. And one of the conditions that, in my experience, is necessary to maintain a peaceful mind is to first balance our minds. The energy we expend must be proportional to the energy we take in. But looking at our daily lives, we see that we give out more than we take in. We have to solve so many problems, face so many difficulties, and deal with so many different situations. The places that drain our energy the most are our work and our loved ones until we get into bed. That's when we have a chance for ourselves, but many people still don't allow it. They lie in bed listening to music, using their phones, chatting, and staying online until they're completely exhausted and fall asleep without realizing it. We might show ourselves some love by listening to Dharma talks. But listening to Dharma talks isn't necessarily fulfilling a need in our hearts. It might not be what our entire soul needs. And that's not even considering our bodies. They might not need to hear or take in anything more. Sometimes they just need rest. Up to this point, we haven't really loved ourselves much. We only cater to our desires. We haven't truly loved ourselves, knowing what our bodies and souls need to be balanced, relaxed and peaceful. It seems like we haven't done that yet, haven't really cared, because we love others so much, or so we think. We love our husbands, children, wives, employees, friends, and relatives. But there's one person we haven't loved ourselves. We still follow society's mindset, which is to focus outward. From the moment we wake up until we go to bed, we're always thinking about someone or something, usually work. We never think about whether our bodies are healthy, whether they need rest, or what kind of healthy foods they need. We don't consider if they need meditation or a break from thinking. We don't consider if they need peace. It means we're in a state of imbalance, focusing too much outward and too little inward. That's the first imbalance. The common situation is that we have a lot of energy in the morning. We laugh, talk, and work very efficiently. But by noon, we start to get a little irritable. And by the afternoon, we're completely drained. All sorts of things happen. And as you know, when our energy is depleted, afflictions arise very quickly. It's fertile ground for afflictions to grow. We can't control our emotions, our words, or our actions. We know it. We see our situation very clearly, but it seems like we haven't seen it deeply enough to make a strong decision to change the situation. And clearly, on days when we have a lot of work, a lot of customer contact, a lot of meetings, and a lot of problems to solve, it's like we deflate in the afternoon like a balloon that's lost its air. And when our energy is low, our perception changes and becomes distorted, no longer accurate. You all remember the famous saying, of the Buddha, as is our mind, so shall we perceive reality. When our mind is full of energy, everything seems okay. But when it's depleted, everything feels unstable and not okay. But at least a practitioner must know this, must know when they see a difficult object, when they don't accept it, when they want to reject it, when they feel drained. They must know this. If they haven't cultivated the ability to constantly generate abundant energy, then at least when their energy drops, they must be aware and not trust their perception at that moment. Don't trust it. It's not accurate. So when you no longer find something endearing, even though you did before, or the same with work, you used to enjoy it, but now you don't immediately trust your mind. Step back and find a place to restore balance to your body and mind, to stabilize your energy. Then your perception might change. So if you're focused on grasping this and that to achieve success without considering happiness, then you don't need to think about balance. Just pour all your energy into the work or object that you want to grasp. But if you care about the value of happiness, and happiness must be lasting, happiness that comes from the peace of your soul, then you must restructure your life to balance external activities with time spent turning inward. Before talking about turning inward, we must address the basics. We must live with structure, have a proper schedule, exercise, sleep, and rest on time, and work moderately. As musician Trin Kong Sun said, "When my legs are too tired, I seek a chair to rest. Rest when you're tired." But when you're carrying a backpack for dozens of miles, you know when you're tired. If you can't go any further, you have to find a place to sit and rest. Right. But when we're working, it's so captivating. 10 hours isn't tiring. Even a dozen hours isn't tiring, especially with work that we enjoy. That taps into our talents and ego, or when we sit next to a loved one every day without getting bored. That's because we're being overwhelmed by emotions. But the truth inside is that there's an energy collapse, exhaustion, loss of vitality, and fatigue. Success is important, but success without happiness is meaningless. So we have projects and plans that need to be carried out. We have aspirations and ambitions, so we should pursue them. But how can we establish balance between the energy we expend each day and the energy we replenish? As I said, besides living with structure and a schedule, knowing how to take care of our bodies, we need to know how to take care of our souls. In my experience, meditation is one of the most effective methods for regaining the energy we've spent during the day. But half an hour of meditation isn't enough. You must meditate continuously, develop meditation widely. Wherever we live, interact, and work, we must meditate. The second imbalance we're facing is between activity and stillness, between being too outward focused and not inward focused enough. Too much external focus and not enough internal focus is our second problem. That's because you're too outward focused So there's too much activity and not enough stillness. Very little stillness. If you've ever done Vipassana meditation, you know the state when you calm your mind and worries and anxiety subside, your mind becomes very clear. Very clear. It can see each object very accurately. Balance brings clarity. When you're active, and here active refers to both the body and the mind. When you move too much, chase after objects too much, when you're oriented outward to grasp too much, especially when you have to use a lot of afflictions to resolve issues. You have to get angry, roar, smash chairs, get angry, jealous, etc. Only then can you stand firm, only then can you manage something. Then your mind is very active, always hasty, always hurried, always anxious. Because your mind is active, afflictions have the opportunity to arise a lot. But when your mind is still, afflictions will subside. If you can't completely release afflictions, at least you must have the skill to calm afflictions as much as possible during the day. Of course, when you work, when you go to the office, you have to accept the active environment. If you know how to bring meditation into life skillfully, you can still be still amidst activity. You can separate yourself, find a space to be still, or even while interacting with people, interacting with work, you can still be still. Of course, being still in a still space is even better. And when we have balance between activity and stillness, we immediately recognize someone who is active, always restless, always fidgety, always looking outward to grab something. But when we are in stillness, we have a certain degree of peace. And when we have that peace, we can deeply connect with the wonderful values that are present around us. For example, when you drink tea, just focus on drinking tea. That state is called the state of stillness. When you eat, just focus on eating. Don't think about anything else. When you work, just focus on work. Even though the body is active, the mind remains still. And when the mind is still, of course, the quality is very high. Whether you're interacting or working, the quality is very high. So, if you see that your stillness is too little, you should build more, develop more, reduce activity. You can support reducing activity by using your phone less, using your computer less, internet, less contact with unnecessary objects during a certain period. Of course, when your mind is stable and firm, you can interact with any object. But during the period when your mind is still weak and too active, you have to find easy, still objects for it that don't continue to stir up activity within you. And also, you have to find a still space, because our mind also needs the environment a lot. Bring it to a still space so that body and mind can be still. We can easily recognize someone with a balanced mind. They're gentle and relaxed. That relaxation signals balance. But if you're stressed, it signals something is unbalanced, meaning you want too much. There are unnecessary wants that are not suitable, so the inner strength is not enough to receive, resulting in stress and fatigue. When you relax, you accept the present you see in the present moment. There are many precious things to cherish, preserve, and enjoy. The future isn't too important. The future is necessary, but it's not too important to be wholeheartedly present in the moment. That's why it's very comfortable and relaxing. The Buddha said that the past is gone, and the future hasn't arrived yet. Contemplate the present moment. Wisdom is here. Don't dwell on the past. Don't imagine the future. Settle in the present. Wisdom is here. Wisdom is never in the future. It happens in the moment of now. During meditation, specifically vipassana, the part where you look back at yourself is less than the part where you look at yourself in this moment. Because when you look back, you have to think and contemplate about what you've said and done in the past. You can use right thought and contemplation, but the Buddha advises us to limit that part, use less right thought, and instead use right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is not thinking, but feeling the objects around us or within us at this moment. This is called present moment awareness. It's only at this moment, not a minute or an hour ago. If we live in the present moment, the more skillfully, the more wisdom has a chance to arise. So, the next balance is between looking back and looking at yourself right now, in this moment. But most of us tend to look back at ourselves, at what we've done, said and thought, especially when we've caused someone suffering, or when someone criticizes, blames, or is angry with us. We do look, but meditation doesn't advise us to look back too much, but to look at what's happening in our minds at this moment, what's happening in our stream of feelings, what's happening in our bodies. That's what we need to know. Earlier, we said that we focus too much on the outside and not enough on the inside. But many people are also very introverted because they focus too much inward and they don't know what to do, just sitting there thinking, imagining, analyzing, dissecting, and explaining, reasoning. But that doesn't help much, just a little bit. But when looking back at yourself, when looking inward, looking at this moment is more important. And when you choose an object in the present to focus on, to connect with, to engage with, to enjoy, then relaxation will occur. Meaning you can have plans and projects, but confidently enjoy the present moment first. The present is also great and very miraculous. This present is what we once dreamed of in the past, and it's now manifesting for us. Why are we indifferent? Why are we apathetic and believe that what's about to happen is more appealing? The Buddha said, "Don't seek, and you shall find. Don't seek happiness, and you will find it." That's very different from our view that we must grasp as much as possible to be happy. The pursuit of happiness is a basic right of American citizens when we pledge to become a citizen. That phrase is in there, and our whole lives We keep searching for one thing after another, never feeling satisfied. There's satisfaction, but it's brief. Never stopping long enough to enjoy something. The Buddha said we already have all the conditions. We already have happiness. We have everything. Just stop and connect deeply, and you'll find happiness. Because happiness belongs to the soul. It belongs to the mind, not dependent on external values or objects that we try to grasp. They might bring us a fleeting feeling of pleasure, comfort, and satisfaction. But it fades quickly because our mind is fickle. It likes something now, then it doesn't anymore. It wants something now, then it doesn't anymore. If we follow it, we'll suffer endlessly because happiness will be short-lived. So the Buddha said, instead of following our mind, subdue it. It's possible to make it want less, demand less, and learn to appreciate and be content with what we have. Neuroscientists in America, like Thich Nhat, organized a research group on the nervous system. They found that human happiness is divided into 3 levels. The first level is contentment. When you're content, the nervous system is very relaxed, gentle, and comfortable, far exceeding satisfaction. Satisfaction is when the nervous system is very active and stressed. Actually, we practice to end suffering, but when we meditate, we shouldn't focus on that. The main goal of a practitioner is to cultivate mindfulness, continuous awareness. Let that awareness and the power of mindfulness resolve suffering, because the suffering we detect is just a surface phenomenon. The product has been released, but the manufacturer is inside. The mechanism of the 5 aggregates. If we can't touch this mechanism and just sit there anticipating its products, we'll never solve the problem completely. So the beauty of practice is that we don't solve the symptoms of suffering, but we build continuous awareness. When it's strong enough, it adjusts the 5 aggregates and suffering will cease to arise. That's all. But the process is difficult. The difficulty is that we often interfere with our suffering to control and handle it. So we keep trying to eliminate it, but it keeps arising. The more we practice, the more suffering we experience because we're not practicing correctly and our attitude is wrong. So, whether we can subdue the buffalo or not isn't that important. The important thing is to have awareness and mindfulness, and sooner or later it will be subdued. So when we practice, we lose our balance. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If we get angry, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's not that Master Nhat Hanh is encouraging us to get angry, but don't be afraid when we do. Don't be confused or angry at yourself. Don't even punish yourself, but treat yourself with kindness. The important thing is to return to our practice in time, the method we use, rebuild awareness, rebuild mindfulness, because we've allowed suffering to arise, which signals that our mindfulness has weakened. If you ask Master Nhat Hanh if he's content with what he has, the answer is yes. But if I'm not content, how can I tell others to be? But in reality, Although I'm not content, I'm still content. I'm content, but also not content. It's a bit confusing, but there are many harms and many things I want to do. I remember Steve Jobs said that when we do something truly meaningful, we should stand up and do something else, not sit there wallowing in that joy, being content with it, and then accepting that's basically it. Of course, when we want to do something, we need the energy to do it. We have to recharge to do more. Otherwise, we'll end up in a state of wanting more than we can do, where our desires are too great and our strength can't keep up. It's called wanting more than we can do. When we've just finished a project, we need to rest and recharge before continuing. After the Hoa, Tao play closed, I'm sure everyone here knows the master and students went their separate ways to rest. Some friends went to the forest for a 3-month meditation retreat. In Myanmar, while the master went all the way to the west to rest. Actually, when I went there, I realized that I lose a lot of energy in Vietnam. Over there, I also had to deal with many things, like starting many things. And I also wrote a book. After finishing a book, I spent time on myself to practice. But I still had a lot of time, so I observed and realized that when I'm abroad, the Vietnamese community isn't very close to me. I live right in the Western community, so I hardly know any outside information. No one comes to ask for advice or organize continuous meditation retreats. And I don't do projects, don't have to raise anyone, don't have to handle anything. So I have a lot of excess energy, which is why I dared to come back for 3 weeks and give 20 or 30 Dharma talks. Who knew I'd get this cold and lose all that energy? When I'm in Vietnam, I have to face and solve so many things, bearing the brunt of so much. It wasn't until I went over there that I realized I really didn't have enough energy. Here I see it, but not clearly. Speaking of practice, I still have a lot to practice, but I'm very happy with what I have. Sometimes I think that what I have is more due to fate than personal effort. That's what I honestly think. What I've achieved in my practice is thanks more to the blessings of heaven and earth than my individual efforts. So I'm very happy. I didn't even think I could achieve such values. And when I share my experiences with everyone, and they accept it, practice it, and get results, it's beyond my wildest dreams. What more could I ask for? Of course, I'd like to have more people for my experiences to go further. But I also know the will of heaven. Although Confucius said you should know it by 50, I'm only 40, and I already know it. That is, I know the workings of heaven, how to view the world. I know how to see far and wide, how to follow the principles of heaven and earth, how to adapt to circumstances. So everything depends on karma, and we can't just sit there and wish for things to happen. But if you ask if I want it, yes, I do. But it doesn't push me. It doesn't make me lose the opportunity to enjoy what I have. It doesn't make me anxious. It doesn't disrupt my relaxation. So I'm truly content, but I still want more. But I repeat, I won't let that desire ruin my contentment. The second value is inner peace. According to neuroscientists in the US, it's the second happiest state after contentment. Inner peace comes from within. Westerners really like to use the word inner. Inner means inside. For example, they use the term inner power, meaning internal strength, power from within, because they use power, and power means you have authority. You tell people what to do, and they have to listen, obey, respect, and serve you. That's having power. But Westerners now don't care about that anymore. They crave inner strength. How do you do mastering yourself? Including unnecessary desires and emotional outbursts. Mastering those momentary shadows of your troubles is true power. That's called inner power, the strength within you to know what not to do. Definitely not doing it, knowing what should be done and doing it. That's strength. Inside, that's called inner strength, inner power. So inner peace is the same peace. Peace comes from within. We can also have peace, but peace comes from the outside. Others make us peaceful. Circumstances make us peaceful because everyone is kind, work is stable, and everyone loves us. Nothing happens, no problems, no incidents. Then our mind is very easily at peace, isn't it? That is peace defined from the outside, peace with conditions. But the Buddha said we can achieve a higher level than that. That is peace from within, when you don't want anything. As the Mahayana Buddhist sutras say, desire peace and you will have peace immediately. Don't want to want, or not want enough. Wanting a little bit, wanting 10%, 20%, 30%. How can you have peace? Still wanting too many things outside, and still wanting that person to make you peaceful by saying a few cute words, stroking your ego, you still crave that food too much, right? You still crave recognition and admiration too much. Then how can you find peace inside? When we look outside to find peace, the mechanism is set up for inner peace, automatically turns off, can't be controlled anymore. And when you accept letting go of the attractive feelings outside, turn inward, let go of the expectation of peace. There is a presence of consciousness. In Confucianism, there is a saying, no enough, wait, enough, a little is enough. No leisure, wait for leisure, want enough, enough right now. Go, don't make an appointment, who knows when it will be enough. Want leisure, want ease, then be at ease right now. Just let go of what's inside, and you'll be at ease. That's it. Do you need any more conditions? But I keep thinking that ease is solving this and that, then you will be at ease. That is peace on the outside. Peace on the inside doesn't need solving. Solve anything else. If there is a solution, it's inside. The desire, even if it's just those tiny desires. For example, I'm talking to you and the voice keeps crackling, 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 hard to hear like that. Suddenly, a desire appears for my voice to be better immediately. Immediately. Wanting is very simple like that, but you also have to give it up anymore, because everything still follows the laws of heaven and earth, the law of cause and effect. It has its reasons for it to happen naturally. Why do you have to interfere? It looks like the more you interfere, the more sensitive it becomes, the more damaged it becomes, the more worse. Because your energy is not stable. You stick your nose into any story and ruin that story. Teaching your children, they also get angry at you. Even though you teach very right, but it doesn't mean being right is effective. It also depends on your energy. So inner peace is a very high value level that must be cultivated to achieve. Neuroscientists have discovered it, but they don't know how to do it. Fortunately, we have learned many methods from the Buddha, including detachment leading to joy. Just let go, and there is happiness. Then concentration leads to joy. Then mindfulness leads to joy. Just focus your mind, and there will be peace. Just observe all psychological phenomena without identifying with them, and there is peace. And the highest state in the soul that neuroscientists in the US have discovered is caring. That is concern and care. Taking care of sharing. Satisfaction is not ranked on this list. This is because satisfaction depends on external objects. Chasing an object, getting caught up in an object, it has passion, it has addiction. Immersion, while satisfaction is enjoying what you have. But this satisfaction ranks below inner peace, because inner peace doesn't need anything external. It's about turning inward, letting go of desires, and it remains. This inner peace still ranks below sharing and caring, because inner peace still stands on the ego. It limits us to a small space, while sharing means seeing everyone around us as part of ourselves, as our Dharma body. They are all miraculous values that constantly nurture us. So we have a responsibility to nurture, care for, and love. That's the highest level of peace and happiness that a person can achieve. So the next balance I want to talk about is the balance between self-benefit and benefiting others, between giving to ourselves and giving to others. Sometimes you think you're living for others, for your husband, children, parents, for work, employees, bosses, customers. But maybe not. We need to examine it. When we truly care for someone, no matter what they're like, we continue to love, nurture, and connect with them, and continue to connect. But in reality, it might not be like that. We love everyone with conditions. We help everyone with conditions. If you say, "Teacher, I've helped someone without any conditions. Teacher, I don't need them to repay me or anything," not less so. There are no conditions. I still say there are conditions, hidden conditions. The hidden condition is when that person fights back, betrays you, slanders you, officially attacks, insults you, makes you suffer. Can you still love them? Can you still help them? So the condition, though not stated, is still implied within. So it's not entirely for others yet. That's why the Buddha said that we live in this life, we have responsibilities and duties, but we haven't reached a level of completely living for others. It has to go through a stage of self-cultivation. Self-benefit, taking good care of yourself, taking care of your afflictions, mastering your emotions, mastering afflictions. That process takes a long time. You cultivate it to make yourself softer, gentler, more loving, more energetic and peaceful. Then, when you help someone, you truly help. When you're doing it for someone, you're truly doing it. At that point, you're no longer standing on your ego to do it, but standing on unconditional love. So, if you see yourself running around worrying about this person and that person every day, you need to reduce that and cater to your own desires and emotions. Instead of taking care of them too much, you should spend time taking care of yourself more. The question is that selfish? The answer is no. No. Because if you take care of them less, and you're more loving, more understanding, less dictatorial, less annoying, less controlling, they might even like it more. That's what they need, not more care from you. If you take care of someone too much, they get scared and fed up. But you don't stop. Why? Because you want to, but they don't. Let me take care of you, okay? It's not enough to just give. If you don't let me, how can I bear it? If you don't let me, how will you know I love you? So it's what you want, but the other person doesn't want it, right? When you help someone and they're not happy, not peaceful, not comfortable, and don't see the practical benefits in a positive way, that help is wrong, worthless, unnecessary, superfluous, and leads to suffering for your loved ones. Do I need to take care of anything? Don't do anything. That's it. It would be weird if they said that. Too much? They can't possibly say, Mom and Dad, please don't help me anymore. Don't give me anything else. That would be so unfilial. Saying, honey, don't take care of me anymore would be heartless. Too much. But every time we take care of someone, we cause them suffering. That's the key. That's because we often act in the name of love. We rely on the fact that we love that person. Then we do whatever we want without knowing what that person needs or doesn't need, right? So one of the things that will help you find balance is, instead of asking, what should I do for that person? You should ask, what should I not do for that person? What shouldn't you say? What shouldn't you do? It's not always about what you should say or what you should do, right? Often, when meditators come to see the teacher, Nhat Hanh only needs to sit there quietly and drink tea. There's no need to fuss over cakes. No need to worry about tea, fruit, incense, flowers, tea, fruit, incense, lights or candles. Sometimes the Buddhists need to do that, but the master doesn't, because that master has traveled far and is very tired and just wants to sit and rest. But sometimes he can't say, please go home early, because that would be too weird, since people are waiting for him. But if you see what they want in their hearts, and you fulfill it, they'll be extremely happy. Now, you don't have to do anything, and they're happy. But you refuse to do it, and you keep trying to do things that don't make them happy. So, it's loving without understanding. And sometimes you refuse to understand. You understand, but you can't do it. You understand, but you can't love anymore. Love is a need, and when you see love as an absolute necessity, that's dangerous. Suffering begins to appear. The other person might not be interested in what you want. Sometimes they really need it, but you know the human mind is very impermanent. Sometimes they don't need it anymore. Sometimes they want you to take care of them. Sometimes they want to take care of themselves. But you're used to it, so you always have to be taken care of to feel secure. If you're not taken care of, you feel insecure. So you have to ask yourself, what shouldn't I do to make the other person happy? Reduce happiness for others is not always the answer. Because if you do things for others and they're not happy, then stop and do it for yourself. The Buddha suggests we cultivate ourselves, purify our souls, remove our afflictions, and then love others. Don't drag others into your life when you're already suffering. What's the point of dying together? Dying together? Fun. Few people who are suffering try to solve their own suffering. They look for someone to share their suffering. Because they have a little money and a little beauty, a little talent, enough to keep them around to bear their suffering. The day, if you marry that person, is the day you ask them to take on your debt, not out of love. They're ignorant and blinded by your beauty or your little bit of wealth. 2 years later, they realize the debt they have to resolve is too terrible. Then you say this person is two-faced, disloyal, unfaithful. Because you're not the same as you were in the beginning, right? You're not faithful either. In the beginning, you were very sweet because you were hiding your debt inside. After 2 years, you can't hold it in anymore, and it has to come out. When it spills out, the other person isn't prepared. They're still delusional and dreaming about you. So when they see your true self, they faint. So, if you're a cultivator with good qualities, you should say, honey, it's reasonable for you to be tired of me. Or honey, it's reasonable for you to be afraid of me and avoid me, because I'm afraid of myself. I'm afraid of myself, but I tell others not to be afraid of me. So the Buddha said we must cultivate ourselves. You must cultivate yourselves. You must clean up, fix the cracks inside, renovate the house to make it presentable. If it's not presentable, at least keep it tidy, not crooked or tilted. The true home resides within your heart. When you feel stable and grounded, then consider loving or helping others. saying that implies that many of us often love or help others charitably because we can't handle the turmoil within. We can't resolve it. We don't dare face ourselves. So we seek joy externally, even under the guise of charity or public service or love, but deep down it's loneliness, not knowing what else to do, not knowing how to feel valuable or useful. So we use someone's hardship to feel valuable. That's not genuine love. When helping someone doesn't stem from self-love, it can lead to trouble and suffering. Restraining it only works for so long. Eventually, it explodes. The question is, have I been selfish for too long? People out there need someone's love. When will I be ready to help? It doesn't have to be after 5 or 10 years of self-interest or after enlightenment. Help when you feel stable. But if you feel unbalanced, turn inward and help yourself first. When you feel relaxed, peaceful, and happy, do something, or even more, that benefits others. That's genuine benefit. If you're suffering, feeling depleted, please don't help anyone. First, don't make them suffer. Second, so you don't misunderstand that you're kind. You're not truly kind if you're borrowing others to find joy, balance, and relief from sorrow. That's not true kindness. Zen master Zhou in China said something like, "Ordinary mind is the way." Have you heard that? Ordinary mind is the way. That's the ultimate goal of cultivation. According to Master Zhou, it's not about enlightenment or becoming a Buddha. It's about reaching a state of ordinary mind, which means we are not currently in that state. Do you agree? Sunny in the morning, rainy in the afternoon. The weather changes in minutes. Happy, then sad, like, then dislike, close, then hated. Want to do it, then don't. According to Zen Master Zhou, ordinary mind is a mind without love or hate. It doesn't distinguish between good and bad, loves all, accepts all circumstances. How can you do that? Of course, not right now. If you practice casually, superficially, how can you achieve it? Before, you only listened to lectures, memorized everything the teacher said, but haven't put in the effort, haven't started practicing. But Thienza does. We practice vipassana, mindfulness. So our main task is to observe afflictions, that is man up. Solving other issues is secondary. Of course, as I said, sometimes I forget the main task and make the secondary one primary. But even when I forget, I quickly remember. So, when you observe afflictions for a while and turn inward long enough, it took me a long time to find true inner peace and discover how to nourish myself. Meditation is like food, and when that food comes from meditation, naturally, I had less need to seek nourishment externally. In fact, there was a time when I didn't want to seek external nourishment at all. Seeking external nourishment means needing validation from others. It means needing love. Respect, favorable conditions, and pleasant sensations, that's nourishment from the outside. Not needing it anymore. Of course, it wasn't constant, but there was a period when I achieved that, or at least had very little need for it. only occasional needs, and most of those were minor, easy to fulfill, not too demanding, and didn't require much energy. And when you have a fulfilling inner life, you don't care about the external anymore. Not seeking means it's not important, not overemphasizing someone's words or actions, favorable or unfavorable circumstances aren't so important. Before I practiced, I was very sensitive and attached to everything. Every action, every word, every way others treated me. But when you have that inner life, it doesn't matter anymore. And when you no longer overemphasize that object, whatever it does won't cause you suffering. It can't touch you. That's different. They can only move you or knock you down if you see it as important. And you only stop seeing it as important when you find that inner life. If you don't have inner strength, if you haven't found inner peace, there's no way to not care about external influences. And when you seek less external nourishment for the ego, then beautiful and ugly, right and wrong, high and low, noble and base no longer have value or meaning, then the mind reaches a normal state. Normal means accepting all objects without needing to like this or dislike that. That's the ultimate goal of practice. This mind is the Buddha mind, the Bodhisattva mind. The Bodhisattva achieves equal vision. If we say becoming a Buddha, it sounds too distant. Let's just say achieving an equal mind, a normal mind. So if someone praises you for meditating for hours or sitting in meditation for hours, or for having strong mindfulness, or achieving something, take a look at your mind. Is it still unstable? Is it still turbulent, changing like the weather, still liking this and hating that? Wanting to approach this object and avoid that one, liking this job and disliking that one? If it's still so strongly discriminating and sensitive, then your practice hasn't gone far. Even if that object was once your enemy, once wanted to destroy you, but when you achieve an equal mind, you find yourself wanting to love that object, wanting to help it awaken, instead of wanting to punish it or just attack or criticize it. So, no matter what practice you do or what tradition you follow, I think the destination must be the same. You must have genuine qualities, and they must manifest in your current life. You can't say, I'm practicing now and I'll get results in the next life, or after I die, I'll get results. Who knows? How can you be sure? So, whether there are results or not, they must be evident now, even if they're not perfect. They must be of the same color and quality. There must be some loveliness, some gentleness, some humility, some generosity, some compassion. Then people will believe you're bearing fruit in your practice. Because the fruits are in those qualities, not in meditating for hours, not in having a long period of practice, not in reading many sutras. Those are just means. The result is still the transformation of your mind and character. Therefore, in the things that I have shared with you today about our states of imbalance, from looking outward to looking inward, in the community with self, benefit and benefiting others, then try to adjust your attitude. Organize your life so that it progresses daily towards a state of the most balanced. It may not be balanced immediately, but you must move in that direction every day. Then we can have peace and happiness, and those around us can inherit our efforts. They are also waiting for our flowering. So once you've started practicing, you must practice until the end. People go up the mountain to get a garwood. They extract a garwood, so why should you extract firewood? People practice and get results. Why do you underestimate yourself and not make your practice fruitful? Where are you stuck? In the method of practice or in the attitude of cultivation? Is the effort sufficient? Is the attitude correct? And the desire to change yourself strong enough? Thank you for listening.